Welcome to the 14th episode of Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays. I am your host, Dr. Saran Nataki. Thank you for joining. Welcome to Power 365 Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays. This podcast will address issues ranging from what is a phenomenal woman? Are you enough? Community service, paying it forward, the manifestation of dreams with words and action, the power in being a woman, the men who support phenomenal women, fashion, and much more. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays. This week I have a special treat for you. I am sitting with Miss Toshii K.D. Cooper. She is the author of Redemption's Lullaby. We're going to get into the details of her novel, but first I'd like to introduce you to Toshii herself. She is the owner of Infinite Healing, and she'll tell us a little bit more about what Infinite Healing does, but she's also a massage therapy instructor, and she's had Infinite Healing for 13 years. I have to say I have known Toshii for over 20 years. She's a near and dear friend of mine, and I'm just so proud to be sitting here sharing her with you. So, Toshii, welcome. Welcome to Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So my name is Toshii K.D. Cooper. I am a licensed massage therapist, an instructor of massage therapy, where I teach the entire program from anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, and the various modalities associated with massage, from Swedish, prenatal massage, deep tissue, reflexology, hot stone massage, and more. I'm also a Reiki Master, where I teach and attune others to become Reiki practitioners, which is a form of, I like to say, an energetic massage, where you are touching and enhancing and balancing the energetic, the subtle energies from an energetic perspective, not the physical body itself. And lastly, yes, I do own Infinite Healing. It's a holistic mobile spa. Primarily, we are working out of Atlanta, Georgia. I am set up in New Orleans, Louisiana, but right now we're primarily out of Atlanta, Georgia. And what it is we provide on-site massage therapy and mobile spa services to individuals, couples, corporations. We are available for spa parties, for a lot of celebrations, bachelorette, baby showers, girls' night in, things of that sort. Also, what I forgot to mention from an educator perspective, I created a modality called Atoning Chakra Massage, which is where, if anyone knows about chakras, you know that they are energy centers of the body, and you can't really touch like energy, so to speak. But I've come up with a way where you can positively enhance the chakras by physically manipulating the meridians. So that's Atoning Chakra Massage, and I teach that and Reiki as continuing education for massage therapists looking to renew their licenses.
Wow. That's amazing. Like I know a lot of people are kind of leery about when you start talking about chakras and energy and even Reiki, like they don't understand it. And there are people who are very set in their religions, and they feel that it goes against, what they might believe. But, maybe before we get into your book, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because I know from my own experience, I don't perceive it that way, as being against anyone's religion. It's just more about, like you mentioned, balancing the energy within you and around you and through you, so that you're the expert, so you can tell us more about that more eloquently than I can. But I know that there are, just even like when people, I have a really good friend. She's actually been on the podcast. She's a yoga instructor, and people are like, "Oh no, I don't mess around with yoga." But it's she's also Christian. She also gets Reiki massages, so it's. Can you talk a little bit about that, like how just kind of dispelling maybe fear that others might have in terms of seeking out Reiki and what the benefits are?
Well, I always start off with defining Reiki by breaking down the name Reiki. So Rei means spiritual wisdom, and Ki, also pronounced as Chi. Chi is life force energy. So Reiki is spiritually guided life force energy. And what it is that the practitioner is acting as a vessel, a vessel for the energy to flow through. And it has nothing to do with religion. It's really just being there with your client and allowing the life force energy, which animates us, to come through and help to balance out any imbalances in the body. And it promotes relaxation. It helps to de-stress the muscles, and it helps to, in some cases, provide clarity in the mind. But there's no it's not surrounded, it's not backed by a religion. It's just, if you go from the perspective of, and I think we all can relate to this concept where you walk into a room and you just say, you know what, it just doesn't feel right in here, and you walk out of the room. Well, you don't know what happened. It's probably an empty room, but what probably occurred right before you walked in could have been an argument, and what you're sensing is that energy. And sometimes that energy could be good energy too, because sometimes you just like, there's some people you just love being around, you're drawn to them, where there's some people not so much, and it's the energy, their aura. And what fuels the aura would be the chakras, these energetic centers of the body. And sometimes the chakras could be off, and Reiki can help balance them out, which will entail make you more relaxed, a little de-stressed, and more inviting to the people around you.
Yeah. Wow. That's an excellent explanation. So you can be any religion and still benefit from Reiki. Yeah. I think that's really important to bring forth, because especially right now, that with everything going on in the world, where we have a global pandemic and people are really stressed by being in their homes, maybe needing to invite positive energy in their homes, especially if they're in their homes with, other people, and there's conflict and things like that, you have to, that's real life. We have to survive those, those situations and still be comfortable in our space. We're forced to be at this point. So that's really, I would love to talk to you more about, in a more formal way, about Reiki and how someone might be able to cleanse the energy in their homes, maybe on another episode.
Talking about that.
Yeah. So here on Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays, we have several questions that are asked to every person that is interviewed. in relationship to what is a phenomenal woman, and how you would define that in your life. So I want to start first by asking you, Toshii, what does it mean to be a phenomenal woman?
Okay, so I feel like the center of my answer lies the phrase, "To thine own self be true." Mm-hmm. Because when a woman is true to herself, then everything she puts forth is truth. And to me, being true to yourself is being connected to your higher self, the source, God, all that is, the great I am. And when you're connected to that source, you move from a space of righteousness, even if that righteousness is from what's right for you. Because what's right or wrong for you may be different from what's right or wrong for someone else. I think a phenomenal woman is someone that is a genuinely good person. They have a good heart. They acknowledge their strengths, their gifts, and their skills, and they seek ways in which to share their strengths and skills. I think they are goal-oriented and possess a lot of courage. Because to be phenomenal, sometimes you have to go against the grain. And so I feel like sometimes courage lives there as well.
And I have to agree with you. Being authentically you does take a lot of courage because, a lot of times, especially with social media, we get pulled into trying to align ourselves with external images of beauty, external images of success. I always find it interesting when I come across individuals who will try to compare the level of success of one person to another, and even against themselves. I think it's kind of a moot issue because success is relative to the individual. If you have person A who aspires to be financially wealthy, but person B that's not on the radar for them. Person B may be very successful in what they do and what they aspire to achieve in this lifetime versus person A, because financial wealth is not the measure of success for that person. So it's really not, it's not relevant to compare. And so when we're being ourselves and being authentic, we are challenged to not aspire to what those external sources of validation. So I think that is the most appropriate term. Courageous, like it absolutely is a courageous thing.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So who would you say have been the phenomenal women in your life?
I will say that I have been blessed to be surrounded by a lot of phenomenal women within my family, friends, and socially. I want to cite some women of my family. My mother was a teenage pregnancy, dropped out of high school, and she had a goal and a dream to attain her undergraduate degree before she turned 40 years old, and she did so on her 39th birthday. And I just think it's phenomenal based upon the humble beginnings that she came from. And then she went on to attain 2 master's degrees after that. And I just feel that is phenomenal. Her older sister, my Auntie Barbara. My mother's name is, I like to call out names. So my mother's name is Muikawi Hayes. And her sister, my aunt, her name is Barbara Wright. She was the first of her generation to, she defied poverty and being the little girl to go around and ask the neighbors for if they had extra change or food. And she went from that to leaving New Orleans. They were raised in the projects. To leaving New Orleans, moving to California, and going to college, graduating, getting her master's, becoming a school teacher, and then by the time she retired, she was a principal of her own school. And I just think, like, that's phenomenal. Her and my mom, they're phenomenal. Two aunts on my dad's side, I want to cite. It's like I'm getting emotional. I love these women so much.
I can hear it. Yeah, I get emotional. I'm emotional listening to you because when you talk about, especially your mother's sister and your mom, I think that it's so amazing to have real women in your life. And by real women, I mean women who have actually had to go through a little something.
Yes.
It's not, it's easy to look at someone who appears to have it all together and be living what society might deem the perfect life. But when you have someone in your life who's been a real woman, someone who has had to jump over hurdles, who's been imperfect and has lived an imperfect life, but still managed to create great things. That is absolutely, that's like the best gift a woman can give another woman. And so you're very blessed to have had that in your life, not only for your mom, but from her sister as well. So thank you for sharing that. But go ahead. You were talking about your father's sisters.
Sisters, yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. So the oldest aunt, her name is Etna Newton. She's named after my grandmother, Etna. She's like the thread that keeps from my perspective, that keeps the family together. She is so kind. She has such a huge heart. She makes you feel so special, right? I can only imagine that the relationship she has with everyone, her brothers and sisters, and all of us, nieces and nephews, that everyone feels so special. Right? I know I do. And when I was in my 20s, I would say mid-20s to early 30s, I would call her a lot when I lived in New York. And she lives in New Orleans. And I would call her a lot. And she always had patience with me. And we'll just talk. And I loved how she loved. And I loved how she cared. And her patience with me, and because I would ask her questions about different recipes, and I was vegan, and she's a meat eater, but she taught me about different spices to use when I cook. And she taught me how to bake from scratch, but from afar. It's not like we ever have shared a kitchen together. And I love her. I love how she loves. And
that's beautiful.
So that's my Auntie Edna, and my Auntie Trolyn. Being true to oneself, she is the definition. Well, everyone holds this definition in their own way.
Yeah.
So let me just say that her name is Trolyn Bertrand, and she reflected what self-confidence is to me, self-love is. And how to value self in the midst of being in a relationship. And when you're not honored at the level that you set for yourself, then you have to have the courage to step away. No matter how long, how many years you've been in the situation, but I always admired her and her, what's the word? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the word, but how it's like she knew what she needed to do, she would do it, and it was done.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't, but at the same time, I want you all to know that she is a loving, and like, I love how she loves and how she cares as well. It's not like she doesn't believe in like second chances, but I like and love how she values herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's my Auntie Trelyn, and she's sassy and outgoing, and I love that about her. Just like to have fun. And then my sisters, I have some awesome sisters. My sister Winnie, I lovingly call her Winnie. Her name is Winifred Yancey.
Mm-hmm.
And she's so smart, so intelligent. She graduated undergrad in electrical engineering, and now she's been working for DWP for a very, I would say over 20 years, and she's not working as an engineer anymore. I know she's a director of legislative and intergovernmental affairs. She says she calls herself an in-house lobbyist. And I'm like, wow, that sounds so important. But I just love Winnie. Like, my mom was also a single parent, and she took care of me when my mother wasn't around. Yeah. She made sure my hair was combed, that my clothes were ironed, that I was fed in the morning just before going to school. And I appreciate her so much.
Yeah.
And then I have my sister, Deneen Ray, who, in addition to having a full-time day job, she is an ordained reverend. She is the pastor of the youth pastor of a church out in California. And I just think that is so phenomenal to help guide the youth on their spiritual journeys. And then I have a sister, and her name is Deneen Ray, if I didn't say it. And then the last sister I want to share with you guys is my sister Rhonda. Her name is Rhonda Cooper. And she is phenomenal, talented, multi-talented, a good heart. She is an expert with fresh flowers. She's the head florist at one of the Whole Foods here. And the way she can put together arrangements and design for weddings and baby showers, she's just so creative, and no one on this earth really can touch her cooking. She is an awesome cook and caterer. She's phenomenal. I feel like I'm a good cook from a vegan perspective. Mm-hmm. She's a great. I come from a family of great cooks because, like I said, my aunt is good. And Rhonda is an awesome cook and a good heart. Like, all these women have great hearts, and they have overcome challenges in ways where I'm not wanting or choosing to put their business out. But for them to be these wonderful individuals, they had to overcome some things. And I applaud them and appreciate their presence in my life. I hope I didn't go too...
No. Everyone deserved exactly the time that you gave them. I mean, that's beautiful. I just, as I'm listening to you, I just hear the love that you have for them in your voice. It really does, translate, how much you care for them and how much you appreciate their influence on your life. And like when you're talking about your aunt who just the way that she loves, so that sounds like she's perfected how to love unconditionally, and that's just like when you have someone in your life that just loves you without conditions, that is, there's no way to really describe that feeling. Like you feel that you can go to them and pour out without judgment. Maybe they have advice, but there's no judgment. And it sounds like that's what you have with her. So, thank you for sharing that intimate space, about your family and how you feel about them. I can appreciate how intimate that is and the vulnerability in your voice. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I want to say I have beautiful friends like you that are phenomenal as well, and I would hate to name them all and forget someone. So I just want to stick with my family.
Yeah, no, of course. Of course. Yeah, they created you. That's the blood that's running through your veins. So you have that, their legacy, the DNA, the legacy that we have. So the last question, that is the more standard question is, have you adopted any of the characteristics that you've mentioned of your family into your own person? Maybe highlight 3 or 4 characteristics that you might have. 3 or 4. No, all right. Okay. Now take as much time as you need.
Okay, well, I feel like that I've definitely, in my own right, have overcome some challenges and have chosen courageously to choose my own path as opposed to the path that maybe my mother would have wanted me to go down, or even me trying to follow in the footsteps of my sister Winnie. And that was just me personally, but I found my own path, and I am courageously walking on that path as far as choosing healing and teaching people how to heal and offering the service to help the masses heal, not just me, one person, but contracting out therapists to help me to help others to heal, and then teaching people energetically how to be of service as well. I love the fact that I'm of service, and that to thine own self I am being true. Okay?
Yeah. For sure.
I feel, yes. Yes, and I feel like I am, let's see, I feel like I have, as I mature, I have a much stronger and solid relationship with my higher self, with the great I am. And in that, because of my walk, it has forced me to embody forgiveness from myself and others, which I feel helps me to overall become a even more good-hearted person, because I feel like I have a good heart. But I feel like it gets lighter, and it's more welcoming and not so guarded as I release and let go of past issues or challenges. I don't know, is that 3 or 6? I don't know. But I said, I do want to, if I can say, one person outside of my family that I feel is like a literal angel walking on this earth, who is a phenomenal woman, and her name is LaShawn Brenton.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to say that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that is it. Did I answer your question?
You did. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would agree with you. LaShawn is amazing. She's got a very warm heart, and her ability to love unconditionally is just I admire that about her.
Yes, and things she's accomplished, and
absolutely,
she just has a huge heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
a real woman. One of these real women we're talking about. So.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so Toshii, you have recently published a book, Redemption's Lullaby, and awesome job. It doesn't read like someone who wrote a novel for the very first time. So congratulations on that. It's really awesome. Yeah. So what would you say was your inspiration for writing the book?
I was my inspiration. The book is based on the main character was a victim of sexual assault, and in the beginning, I was writing my story. But as I continued writing, it kind of turned into a different story. Or I should say someone else's story, but it was interesting because there were times that I had to put it down because there were moments where I had to sit with the information myself, as I guess I was still healing in my own way as well. But I would say I inspired me, and I want folks who have experienced this type of abuse or any abuse to know that there is light within you that is just waiting for you to turn it on. And inside of the book, the character does different things in which she helps to turn on this light within her.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, yeah, when you're talking about in your dedication, so you talk about the light within her. In your dedication, you say, this book is dedicated to universal truth and all of my ancestors. I am who I am. And I don't, that just, when I read that, it just really touched me in a very profound way. The words really just resonated with me. Can you tell me about what that dedication means? The universal truth and all of my ancestors. I am who I am.
I feel that universal truth is love. Love is at the center of most things, most people, most situations. Whether you're having a loving moment or a happy moment, you're expressing love. But even when there is anger or fear, to recognize love and or forgiveness, which is within love, which is inside of love. That's where the whole universal truth comes from. So this journey, the main character's name is Corin Rivers. She was pretty much redefining what self-love was for her. And she was realigning her relationship with God, the source, the great I am. And so in so doing that, she recalled stories she had heard of her ancestors and recognized that maybe some of her wounds were her wounds, but also wounds of her ancestors, seeing that their DNA was flowing through her blood as well.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's dedicated to universal truth, where love, even through the midst of this turmoil, this chaos of abandonment, guilt, and shame that she felt from being raped, there's this underlying love. There's this underlying universal truth. Because she eventually forgives herself and others, people that she didn't even know she was holding resentment towards. And then basically able to define who she is. And the great I am, that statement in itself, I am, gives you that opportunity to define who you are. And so,
yeah,
wow. I am who I am.
Wow, as you're saying that, like I'm getting all emotional. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a crier. So anyway, but I cry on commercials and stuff like that. So so like on real life stuff, I'm crying. But but no, one of the things. So when you're talking about that, you're talking about the ancestors and like their blood running through their veins, and I was in conversation with someone, and I was sharing with them my DNA results from like ancestry.com, right? So I had these results, and I was asked how I felt about them because the percentages are what they are, and there's a mix of different things. And I'm African American, and so my response was, I'm so proud of them because I am a descendant of the strongest, right? So those who came through the Middle Passage, and even with the influence of, even with that European influence that eventually trickled down to create me. There was survivorship. Like, there were women who had to survive and do what they had to do to get me here. And I am a descendant of them. And so when you talk about her reflection on her ancestors and her ancestors' stories, I really believe that a lot of what we carry with us as women is a result of the experiences of our ancestors past. So I think that's why that dedication really resonated with me, and the way that you explained, what that meant and how you came about that is perfect. It really does really speak to, the reasons why it touched me. So I hope that it resonates with other people if they have a chance to pick this up. I think you did, such an amazing, and Corin herself. So when you talk about, one of the other things that resonated with me, so when you introduce the main character who narrates the book, she talks about sharing the video of her life. So you use that terminology, the video of her life. What inspired that analogy for you when you're discussing, or when Corin is discussing or starts to introduce her life in terms of a video?
Right. I feel like it initiated. I don't know how old I was. I can't remember, but my mother has always kind of referred to our life as our life script, type of thing. And so I feel like we're all main characters in our own movie or in our own script. And we have supporting cast members. We have sound engineers, stage managers. Sometimes we have to take a retake. And so so I just kind of played on, I guess, that banter between me and my mom when we would talk about what's going on in our life script, and I just played on that and added it to my book.
Yeah, no, that that is that makes sense, especially knowing, knowing what I know of your mom, and and you, and and also like when you talk about, because there are people who believe that we plan our lives before we come, right? So so that kind of put me in mind of that in terms of the video of her life,
right. I see where you're going. Yeah. And you can you can take it from that perspective as well. I don't know how to
Or just even a
Because
life
I
review,
feel,
like a review of your life. You know, when, you know, I had an experience where a loved one came to me in a dream state and said that, you know, she had to go to a place where she had to review her life's lessons, you know. And so, that. Yeah. I'll just be transparent. As my mother came to me and said that to me.
Nice. Yeah. I love that.
So, wow. Yeah. So I guess, you know, just the timing, me reading the book and then having had that experience not too long ago, it just really like, wow, the video for life.
Right. So, and without giving away the book, I don't know how to explain it without you, but you really are kind of getting snippets of different parts of her life, because she takes you through some moments at different stages of her life, and just like with a video, to me, you can rewind, you can fast forward, and when you read the book, you probably kind of see what I'm talking about. Yeah. As far as fast forwarding and rewinding. Yeah, that's those of you, not you reading the book, but those of you listening. Yes.
The collective you out there,
yes, the collective you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I liked your analogy. I love that. About reviewing your life like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of writing, right? So you are able to bring out or touch people in ways that you maybe didn't even intend. Right. But everyone has their own interpretation. They can walk away with something even different, you know, exactly. your message and their own, you know, so that's a gift to be able to touch someone like that. Yeah. So, you've kind of talked about Corin and her journey. She's trying to find the light within her. You know, I personally, when I read the book, I found it to be very relatable. The characters have very real language. So if you read this book, you really get in touch with the space that each character is in when you're reading it. You know, that the language that's used. You sense the anger, the hurt, the vulnerability at various times based on how you wrote it. And I think you did, you know, such an amazing job with that. It makes the characters like really tangible. So you really, you can identify with, you know, a Corin in your life, you know, if it's not, and at times like you know, if you're really real and you're reading it, I think most women can relate to Corin at various points in time in their own life. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So is there anything you wish for us to learn from Corin or any other character in the book? Like what is the thing that you hope that we learn from her?
Have a connection with your higher self. If you don't have one, create one with your higher self, with the source. There is light at the end of such an experience. Though I don't talk about this, well, I touched on it a little bit. Anyone that is a survivor of sexual abuse, there are resources out there for you, and some of them are free. Me personally, my experience happened to me when I was in high school, and I didn't get counseling until I was about 24 years old. So I was 16, so 8 years later. And I just, this was before the internet, but some kind of way I looked up and found a free resource. At the time, it was at Y, and I got like 8 free individual sessions and then unlimited group sessions. And I feel like it'll just kind of help you process things, help you know that no matter what if you say no and someone still moves to violate you, that it's rape. As long as you said no, it's rape. So know that it's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And in that knowing, have the courage to forgive yourself, because sometimes you can beat yourself up for multiple reasons of like how you even got in that position. Mm-hmm. And so just know that it's not your fault. You are loved. You are supported. Even if it's through the universal truth and your ancestors, that you have a fan club. Some folks, they could be on the spiritual realm, but they are rooting for you and rooting for your healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I always say, surround yourself with people who root for your rise.
Yeah,
root for your rise. So that's awesome. I think that, when I look at the CDC and how they report rape statistics, they say that nearly 1 in every 5 women are raped, and it's assumed that that's even underreported. So as women, we unfortunately have these hurdles that come before us, and sometimes we're taken advantage of. And like you said, it's really important not to beat yourself up over decisions you may have made, or how you found yourself in certain situations, or even if at that time it just wasn't the right time, or you just didn't feel strong enough to come forward. Forgive yourself and allow yourself the healing. Allow yourself to heal and root for your rise. Tap into that inner part of yourself, that it's that place where you've had to pull out the things that you didn't even know existed, that strength that you didn't even know existed, where you've been able to get through your most difficult moments. It's that kind of strength that, it requires. And so, but thank you for sharing this book with us. I mean, this is just a really, I'm so proud of you and your accomplishment with this. And thank you for sharing your time with us on Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays. Yes, absolutely.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to add one perspective in regards when you find yourself in a particular situation, to be clear with your communication. Because I do have a scene in the book where it's almost like the male is the victim in this situation, but it was because of unclear communication. So if you mean no, say it out loud. Be clear that that's what you're saying. And I just wanted to state that just to give a different perspective, because it's not always the female that is a victim. Sometimes there are men or males that find them in victim situations, but being accused of being the rapist. So I just wanted to say that be clear of what you're communicating and just state it clearly.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
When there's no gray lines. Yes. And so, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this moment, and you definitely helped it to be a very pleasurable experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we could probably talk for hours about so many things that I think, we have a lot to discuss maybe on future episodes, like what I mentioned earlier. And what do you think? What's next for you? Do you see yourself writing another book, or, what's next?
Next. I kind of call myself a Toshii of many trades and gifts and desires. I'm not one to share what I'm working on, but I will say that it is, whether it's a product or service, it will have to do with holistically healing the mind, body, and spirit. I do, at some point in my life, would like to write another novel, but I'll be honest, it's not at the forefront of my mind. There's other things that I want to do first. And I don't know, like maybe in my late 50s or 60s, I'll look at writing another novel.
No, I mean, you know, it's what resonates with you, your own journey. So, you know, you have so many gifts. And when I was listening to you talk about all your training and, you know, the modality that you created. I remember one time, I'll just share this. So I used to travel once a year to Atlanta, and I would, you know, call Toshii. I'm coming to town, you know, let's sit and talk. So I would sit and Toshii would be like, what's up? What's new? And I would spill out all my life's drama. Like, oh my Lord, it was this and that. And then and one time you were so patient, you know, I appreciate that. Okay. You know, I'm much more evolved now. I wouldn't do that to you at this point, but so yeah, you were so patient with me, and you just like, you know what? Next time you come, I'm gonna give you a chakra massage. like, let me heal this child. Let me help you. Let me balance your energies, because clearly you have a lot going on, because every year you coming up in here telling me all
right.
But no,
and you know, we can still do that, because Reiki you can do at a distance, so we need to make that
okay. Well, that's nothing but a word. I'm always down for some healing. So so I remember that, and that, you know, and you offering that, you're like, let me help you, because
that is hilarious.
But anyhow, thank you so much for taking this time to talk with me and share this amazing book, and not just your book, but, you know, a piece of you. You know, you've been very vulnerable and transparent here, and the people who listen to my podcast are authentic women. They are really striving. Like, I really believe that my audience is made up of women who really seek to get in touch with their authentic selves. And I think you've really provided, you know, some great food here to feed their souls.
Oh, so, nice.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And can I state that you can get Redemption's Lullaby at Lulu.com, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon as well. It's available in print and ebook format.
Absolutely. And there will also be a link for the purchase of the book in the show notes. So that will be available to all of my listeners. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for tuning in to Power 365 Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays. I believe that every woman gifts the universe with her own strengths and unique characteristics. Simply because she is born, the universe benefits. Every woman is growing, learning, and evolving. On this channel, only positive seeds are sown, no matter how flawed the soil. Take care and have a phenomenal Wednesday.